Hello guys and welcome to this new Spigot plugin development tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to code a plugin which I have made for a Minecraft server. I'm going to show you what we are going to make. The plugin is called Chaos Brute and we are going to make a command spawn brute and we need to pass in a location. So I'm gonna pass in this location where I am standing right now, like this. This will spawn a Chaos Brute, as you can see. It will also give everyone in the server a boss bar, and it will send everyone in the server a message. Chaos Brute, I have been waiting for you, come meet me, I have a deal for you. And everyone who is online on this server will receive this message and this boss bar. And what you can do, you can click on this Chaos Brute, like this. It will send you a message. I give you 3 quests. Be the first to complete and I will have a reward for you. Quest 1, bring me 1 golden apple. So let's bring him 1 golden apple. Like this. Quest 2, bring me 1 eye of ender. Like this. Lastly, bring me 1 emerald block. Let's give him emerald block. It will show an animation. Boom. Someone completed all quests, I am leaving for now. This red message will be sent to everyone in the server, because only the person who completed all quests first will receive this item. Well done, as I mentioned there was a reward, here you go. And you receive a Chaos Brute blade, which has fire aspect 2, looting 3, mending, sharpness 5. And it also has a ability, right click to receive regeneration 2, 30-second cooldown. So we can right click and we receive regeneration, and it has a 15-second cooldown, or I think 20 cooldown. I need to change this in the title, in the lore. But it also has a special ability, and this is like the reward you get when you are the first person to complete all quests. So this is a little fun plugin I made for a Minecraft server, and I'm going to show you guys how we can code this plugin. So let's get started. Alright, let's create a new project for this plugin. Select Minecraft. Make sure you have the Minecraft development plugin installed on IntelliJ. This will let us create a plugin very easily. So select this one. You can name this project Chaos Brute, like this. You can select a location on your PC where you want to store this project, like this. Make sure you select plugin, of course. Select bucket, and you can select paper, or you can select Spigot if you want to. I'm going to use Spigot. There's not a really big difference between these two. You can select the Minecraft version. I'm going to stick with the latest version. Plugin name is fine, like this, and the main class is also fine, just like that. The build system, I'm going to use Maven. The version 1.0, like this, just like that. And we can select create. There we go. Alright, our project is created. Let's open all of this up, just like that. Alright, we don't need this method right here, we can remove it. And let's start by making a manager class. So we're gonna create a package managers, and we're gonna call this class Brute Manager, just like that. So we have created a package managers. Inside of that package we've created a Brute Manager class. Inside of this class we are going to make a method which will spawn the brute. So which is a piglin brute in Minecraft. So let's create a private piglin brute. We can just call this brute. And let's make a method called spawn brute. And we need to get a location. This is the location where we want to spawn this piglin brute. So what we can do is brute equals, we need to cast it to piglin brute, and then location.getWorld.spawn entity at the location, and then entity type .piglin brute. This is the entity that we want to spawn. And now we can set some options for this piglin brute. We can set AI to false. This will remove AI from the piglin brute so that he will not damage players or he will not move. And we can say brute.set collidable to false as well. And we can also set invulnerable, I don't know how you call that, this one. We can set this to true. This ensures that players cannot damage the brute. So we also want to set this to true. If the player is in creative mode, the player can damage him. But if the player is in survival, it cannot damage the brute. And we also want to make sure that the brute always is a adult. So we can say brute.set adult. And we also want to give this brute a custom display name. So we first of all set custom name visible to true. And then we do brute.set custom name. And we can use chat colors as well. Chat color.red. And we can say chat color.bold. And let's say chaos brute, just like that. And make sure you add a little string after the chat color.red, because you cannot use it like this. Because these are enums. In Java, you cannot put two enums together, so you have to add a string just like that, and then you can add bold if you want to. Alright, the second method we are going to make in this class is remove brute. And this will just remove the brute. We first of all need to check if the brute is not equal to null. And then we can do brute.remove. And we also want to use this method inside the spawn brute method just before we create the brute, just like that. Okay. And we also want to make some getters. We want to get the UUID, get UUID. This will return the brute.getUUID. Every entity in Minecraft has a unique ID. This will never change. And we want to make a location getter. Get location. This will return brute.getLocation. Alright, we have finished this brute manager class. Let's go inside of the main class. Let's make here a private brute manager. In the onEnable, we want to set the brute manager equal to new brute manager, just like that. And then we can make a getter like this. Public brute manager, get brute manager, and that will return the brute manager like that. And some people do like this, brute manager equals to null. In the onDisable, you can use this. It's not really necessary. It's only useful when people are reloading the server. So this will make sure that on the disable, so when the plugin is disabled, it will set the manager to null, and when the plugin is enabled, it will set the brute manager to a new brute manager. So it's not really necessary, but it's like personal preference if you want to use this, okay? Alright, let's make the command. We make a package commands and we can call this spawn brute command, like that. Implements command executor. Let's hover over this, implement methods, and implement this method right here. And we can return true. Let's check if the sender, let's make this sender, let's make this args. If the sender instance of player, we want to return true. So if the sender is not a player, we want to return true, which means stop run the code, because we only want to run the command if the sender is a player. So let's make the player. We also need our main class, chaos brute plugin, public spawn brute command, chaos brute plugin, this.plugin equals plugin. So we can say, for example, if the player is not OP, just like that. So if the player is not a OP, so not a operator on the server, we want to return true, and we can say player.send message chatcaller.read, you cannot use this command. So only players with OP can use this command, so only players with OP can spawn the brood. You can also add a permission, just like that. So you can say spawn.brood. You can use this as well if you want to. This is like a custom permission. So, but if you use this, you need to make sure that you have a permission plugin installed, so you can actually give this permission to players. Alright, the next thing we need to check is if the args.length equals 3, because the command will be /spawn brood and then x, y and z, just like that. So the it has 3 arguments, so the args.length needs to be 3. So if it's not 3, we want to return true. We can send the player a message: invalid usage, please use, and let's copy this, just like that. Okay, so we want to make sure that the argument 0, which is this one, and argument 1 and argument 2 is an integer, because it is the x, the y and the z needs to be an integer. So we need to check that. So let's make a util, utils package, and we can say util, and we want to make a util, so public static boolean. This will return a boolean, and we need to get a string. We need to have a string, and we call this method isInt, just like that. This is a method which will check if the given string is equal to an integer. So first of all, if a string equals to null, we of course want to return false, because the string is null, so it is not an integer. Then we want to make a try catch, and we want to catch a number format exception, and we want to try using integer dot parse int. We pass in the string, so it will try to execute this command. If that command returns a number format exception, this means that the string cannot be parsed to an integer, so we need to return false. Otherwise it is an integer, so we can return true, just like that. So what we can now do is up here import static util dot and then this little symbol, just like this, and then we can use the isInt method, and we need to check if the args0 is integer, and we need to check if args1 is an integer, and we need to check if args2 is a integer. If it's not, we can say else, and we can return true and say player.send message chatcaller.read, the coordinates must be a number, just like that. Alright, and now we can do plugin.getBroodManager.spawnBrood, and we can get a location, so new location. Let's get the player.getWorld. We need to pass in the double x, so we can say double.parse double args0. Let's copy this, paste it here and paste it here. Change this to args1 and args2, just like that. And I made a little mistake because this requires a double and not an integer. So we actually need to rename this to is double and do double dot parse double, just like that. And we use is double. So just like that. I made a little mistake, but it's kind of the same, just like that. Okay. So now we have spawned the brute. We can broadcast a message to the server. This will be sent to every player online, and we can say chaos brute chat color.red, and we can say, for example, I have been waiting for you, come meet me, I have a deal for you. You can send a message like this, for example. And we can also give the coordinates, because otherwise it's very hard for people to find this brute. So we can say x equals the args0, the y is args1, the z is args2. And we also want to give every player on the server a boss bar. We're gonna create this boss bar in the onEnable, in the main class. So first of all, we are going to create a private boss bar. Let's just call this brute boss bar, or you can just call it boss bar, just like that. In the onEnable, we do boss bar equals bucket.create boss bar. And we can give it the boss bar a title, chat color.red, chat color.bold, chaos brute. We can give this boss bar a color, bar color.red, and we can give this a style, boss bar style dot. I'm just going to use solid, just like that. You can try some values, you can try changing some values, so it will look good if you want to, but I'm just going to stick with this. Let's create a getter for this boss bar. Get, just like the first method up here, public boss bar get boss bar, return the boss bar. And in the spawn brute command, we can loop through every player on the server. So let's call this target bucket.get online players. So this will loop through every player online. And then we can do plugin.get boss bar.add player target, just like that. There we go. We have finished this command. We need to register this command. So let's go to the main class. Get command spawn brute, set executor new spawn brute command, and we need to pass in the plugin, which is this. And we also have to register the command inside the plugin.yml. Commands spawn brute, description spawn the chaos brute, and the usage will be spawn brute x, y, and z. And we don't need to add permission because we have already did that inside the class here, player that has permission spawn brute. So we don't have to add that to the plugin.yml here. So we have finished this command. Let's close this. Let's close this util class, and let's close the brute manager class. Alright, let's go to the main class here. We are going to create a private map, and this will store a UID with an integer. And this will store the amount of clicks that the player did on the brute. So the UID, that's the player's UID, and the integer, that's the amount of clicks. So we can call this just times clicked, for example. So we can use this to check if the player clicks on the brute. So we can check if that's the first click or the second click that the player did. All right. So let's set this times clicked to equal a new hash map, just like that. And we need to get make a getter. There we go. And we also want to make a private boolean. We can call this completed. And this is a boolean, which if this boolean is true, that means that a player already completed all quests, so another player cannot complete the quests anymore, because only the first player who completed all quests will get the reward. Let's set this boolean to false, completed equals false, because it's not completed when the plugin started, of course. And let's make a getter for that boolean. Public boolean get completed, return completed. And we also want to make a setter, public void set completed, boolean completed, this dot completed equals completed, just like that. So now we can get that boolean and set that boolean through the main class. Okay, now it's time to make the listener, so the actual click listener. We make a package listeners. Let's call this brute listener. Implements listener. Add event handler public void. And we're gonna call this on interact, because we are going to use the player interact at entity event. That's a pretty long name, but that's the event we are going to use, because the player is interacting at an entity, because the brute is an entity. So first of all, we have to check if the event.getHand is not equal to equipment slot.hand. Then we want to return. If the event.get right clicked .get type is not equal to entity type .piglin brute, then we also of course want to return. Before we do the other check, we need to have the plugin class. Like that. And another check we need to do is if event.get right clicked .get unique ID equals to plugin .get brute manager .get unique ID. If that's false, here we have put this symbol before this. So if that's false, we want to return true, because this will check the right clicked is the entity we have clicked on. If the UID of that entity is not equal to the UID of the brute, then we want to return, so that means that we don't want to run the code here. Let's get the player, event.get player. Let's get the UID of that player, player.get unique ID. And let's get the map integer, which is the times clicked, which is equal to the plugin.get times clicked. Okay, so first of all, we need to check if plugin.get completed. If that's true, we want to return, because if it's completed, that means that a player already completed all quests, so we don't want to run the code after this, to the code that we're gonna write here. So we want to return. So the next thing is if times clicked that contains key UID. So we put this little symbol here, so that means if the player's UID is not inside the times clicked map, then we want to times click.put UID with 1, because the player has clicked on the brute, but the player is not inside the map, so we want to set the player inside the map with the integer 1, because that's the first time that the player clicked on the brute. And we also want to send the player messages. chatColor.white, chaos brute, and we can say chatColor.yellow. I'm just gonna paste some text in here, so otherwise the video will be very long. I give you 3 quests, be the first to complete, and I will give you a reward. And I also want to send a message, chatColor.white, chaos brute, chatColor.yellow. This will be the first quest, so quest 1, bring me 1 golden apple. That's the first quest. And we can return. So let's get the amount of clicks that the player has on the brute. So clicked amount. That is equal to the times clicked dot get and then the UID. So this will return that integer, this integer right here. So that is the amount of clicks that the player has done on the brute. If that amount equals to 1, that means that this is the second time that the player has clicked on the brute. So we need to check if the player .get inventory .get item in main hand .get type equals material .golden apple, because the first quest is bring me 1 golden apple. Otherwise, so if the player doesn't have that golden apple in their hand, we can say send message chatColor.white, chaos brute, chatColor.red, bring me 1 golden apple. And we can also return here. So if the item in the player's hand, in the player's main hand, equals to a golden apple, that means that the player successfully brought a golden apple to the chaos brute. So we first of all need to remove the golden apple from the player's inventory. So player.get item in main hand .set amount, player.get inventory .get item in main hand .get amount -1, just like that. So this will remove 1 golden apple. And we are going to send a message, which I'm going to paste just like that. Chaos brute. It will say the second quest, bring me 1 eye of ender. And we also want to update the times clicked. So times clicked .put UID, which is now 2. Alright, so this is the first one. Let's make the second one if clicked amount equals 2. That means we have to check if player.get inventory.get item in main hand .get type equals material.ender eye, because the second quest is bring me 1 eye of ender. Then we want to remove the eye of ender, so we can copy this and paste it in here. And we can send the player a message with the last quest. So lastly, bring me 1 emerald block. And we have to update times clicked UID, and this is now 3. And we can add an else here. Player.send message chatColor.white, chaos brute, chatColor.red, bring me 1 eye of ender. So this message will be sent whenever a player is clicking on the brute without the eye of ender in their hand. Okay, and we can lastly just return here. So now let's make the last check. So clicked amount equals 3. So we need to check if player.get inventory .get item in main hand .get type equals material.emerald block, because that's the third quest. Then we want to remove that item. And what we want to do now is plugin.setCompleted to true, because the player has completed all quests. So we want to say, we want to set completed to true, which means that the quests are completed. So if another player is trying to give the brute a item, it will return here, because only the first person who completed all quests will get the rewards. So we are going to make that little animation right now and give the reward to the player. First of all, make the reward. I'm not going to show you the ability of the reward. I'm just going to make a netherite sword as the reward, because otherwise the video will be very long. It's already 40 minutes that I am recording. So let's just make a item stack. Reward equals new item stack material, and then for example netherite sword, just like that. So this is a basic reward. Just let me know in the comments if I need to make the special ability for this reward in another video. Just let me know. Also, please like this video. If you want to see more tutorials, please let me know. And subscribe if you are new to this channel, please. Alright, so what we are going to make is a animation. We want this reward to rise up to the sky. So what we need to make is a armor stand. Armor stand, just call this armor stand, and we're gonna cast this to armor stand, and we need to get the brute manager and get location dot get world dot spawn entity plugin dot get brute manager dot get location, and then entity type dot armor stand, like that. We are going to make this armor stand visible to false, so you cannot see this armor stand. We want to set the armor stand dot gravity set gravity to false as well, so that the armor stand will not fall down when we rise it up. Armor stand dot set invulnerable, we also want that to true, so players cannot damage this armor stand. And we want to armor stand dot get equipment dot set helmet to the reward. And now we are going to make a bucket task. Let's call this just task equals bucket dot get scheduler that run task timer. We need to pass in the plugin, and we can use this. I think this is called a lambda. So this will open up the method actually. And what we want to do is we want to set the delay to 0, and we want to set the period to 1. So this will run every tick. So 20 ticks equals 1 second. And so 1 tick is just every tick. So this code inside of this task will be run every tick. And we want to teleport this armor stand above. So we want to teleport this armor stand upwards. So we can do armor stand.teleport, armor stand.get location. We need to clone this, and then we can add 0 to the x and 1.13 to the y. So every tick the armor stand will be teleported upwards 1.3. So just like that. And we can play a sound, so player.play sound to the player's location, and we can say sound.entity experience bottle throw. This is a nice sound. Let's set the volume to 10, pitch to 10. This is like, I'll do this by default 10 and 10. If you want to change this, that's fine, you can just change that. And we want to spawn some particles maybe. So we can say plugin.get brute manager.get location So that's the location of the brute. We can get the world, spawn particle, add the brute location, so plugin.get brute manager.get location. First of all, we have to pass in the particle itself, so particle.flame. I'll do flame for now. Then the location, so that is the brute's location. And then the amount, I'll set this to 10. Make sure you don't set this to 100, for example, because this will be run every tick. So this is very, you have to be careful by changing this, okay? So what we are going to make now is another runnable, so another task. So bucket.get scheduler.run task later. So run task later, we have to pass in the plugin, and we are going to create another lambda, just like that. And we are going to run this code, so the code inside of this method, after 5 seconds. So 20 ticks equals 1 second, so we can do 5 times 20. So this will be 5 seconds. So the code inside of this method will be run after 5 seconds. The code that we need to run is task.cancel. So that is this task right here. We want to cancel this task, so stop this task after 5 seconds. We want to broadcast a message, bucket.broadcast message, chatColor.white, chaos brute, chatColor.red, and then we can say someone completed all quests, I am leaving for now, like that. So this will be sent to every player online, because someone completed all quests. Alright, so what we can do now is get the boss bar, plugin.get boss bar, and we want to remove all. So this will remove all players from the boss bar, so that the boss bar will be removed for all players. We want to remove the armor stand that we have created, and we can play a sound to the player, play sound, player.get location, sound.entity, generic, explode. This is a nice one. I'll set this to 10 and 10, just like that. We want to add the reward to the player's inventory, so player.get inventory.add item reward. And we want to send the player a message telling the player that he has completed all quests. So chatColor.yellow. Well done. As I mentioned, there was a reward. Here you go. Just like that. We also want to remove the brute, so plugin.get brute manager .remove, and we want to set the completed to false again, like that. So this is everything we need for the animation, and to cancel everything and to give the reward to the player. So we are finished for now. I forgot one little thing. If the player clicked but doesn't have the emerald block in their hand, we can say else player.send message chatColor.white, chaos brute, chatColor.red, bring me 1 emerald block, like that. So we are finished. Everything is done. We need to register this listener. Bucket.get plugin manager .register events new brute listener. We need to pass in the plugin and the plugin here as well. Register events. Alright, everything is finished. Let's build this plugin, so we can click on this little button up here. If it says build success, we can close this window. we can open this target folder, and here we have our plugin. So let's put this in our plugins folder of our server. Let's start our server and let's check if it's working. Alright, my local server is started, so I can join with localhost. Alright, let's try it out. I'm going to give myself some items that we need. Alright, spawn brute. We need to pass in some coordinates. I'm gonna pass in the coordinates right here. Just like that. Okay, we have a broadcast message. I have been waiting for you, come meet me. I have a deal for you. And the coordinates. Every player gets a boss bar. And the Chaos Brute is spawned. So let's click on this one. I give you 3 quests, be the first to complete, and I will have a reward for you. Quest 1, bring me 1 golden apple. If we click without golden apple, it will say bring me 1 golden apple. So let's bring him the golden apple. Bring me 1 Eye of Ender. Lastly, bring me 1 emerald block. Boom. Let's watch the animation. Boom. And we got the reward. Someone completed all quests. I am leaving for now. Well done. As I mentioned, there was a reward. Here you go. And we got the reward. And of course you can make your own reward if you want to. You can make your own quest if you want to. You can just do fun things with this plugin. I hope you liked it. If you like this plugin, if you find this tutorial useful, please consider liking, subscribing, and let me know if you want to see more tutorials about Spigot plugin development. And I'll see you later. Goodbye.